Hey there folks, welcome to Let's Play Limbo. Like Bastion, Limbo is a wonderful piece of artistic expression that was originally released on Xbox Live Arcade in, I think, late 2010, maybe early 2011, I'm not quite sure about that. And it's also available on PSN, and it was later made available on Steam, which I think was towards the tail end of 2011. Anyway, I'm gonna try to keep the commentary a bit low-key for this one, and I'm just gonna talk to be as informative as possible, and I'm not gonna try too hard to keep a constant stream of speech going, because the game has a very particular atmosphere to it then, and I don't want to try to break it. So, if you followed my Bastion LP or my commentary on Shadows of the Damned with Mike, you'll notice an absence of dick and pedophilia jokes aside from this one. I'm also going to try to do my best to point out all the secrets, the secret eggs, and go for the 5 deaths or less achievement because, yeah, why not add some interesting flavor to an already really interesting game? So, yeah, let's start this up, start new game. And already we noticed something really interesting about this, and if it wasn't made completely apparent by the game's title, this is a game about walking the edge between life and death, which is what Limbo is. It's said to be the place that exists between life and death, two polarizing concepts. This is reflected in the stark black silhouettes of the game, and it's contrasted against the monochrome white, which is life and death, black and white blended together. And if we go to the left here, we find our very first secret of the game, the first egg. Oh, also, before I forget, I read somewhere that the Steam version of the game had some added hidden content, and that I'm not too sure about the veracity of that claim, but it's something worth looking into. I haven't really examined it too much since I got this game on Xbox Live Arcade for just $15, and it's well worth the price of admission. And this I found to be really interesting, as unassuming as it is. The fact that that water is brought up so early in the game as an impassable object, in that one of the very first things you encounter, I think the second aside from that rope in the beginning in the cliff you dive off of, but that's not really or you roll down, but that's not really an object. This is one of the earliest objects that you can interact with in the game. I find that interesting because it's an interesting parallel to the story of Karen, who ferries the newly dead along the river Styx. I think it's an interesting thematic element to play with. And I'm gonna walk into the very first death trap of the game, and that leaves me with 4 lives left to get an achievement. And really, I should not be dying to things like that. But that's just me not paying much attention. Now here we have our first real puzzle, and it's not really anything too complicated. I'm just going to set the bear trap under the rope, so that will happen, and the rope becomes less slack and I can jump up here. And there's a rope up there. And we just need to go forward and grab this crate real quick before we can get to that. And after we get done doing this, we will get on with our secret hidden eggs. And I might need to climb just a bit higher to reach this. Swing once more. And yep, there we go. That's how you get the second hidden egg. And in thinking about this game, the eggs are just something that I can't quite place my finger on how they fit into the larger narrative. Oops. Yeah, I should be fine from that height. Yep. Because there's so much room for inference, and really, that's all you can do with Limbo is infer, because it relies entirely on its stark ambience, its soundtrack, its visuals. There's no dialogue in the entire game to draw any narrative conclusions from. So really, the only things you're left with are inference, and there's just symbolically not much to infer from the eggs, or at least not much that I can personally figure out. That was a narrow escape. Now we're gonna have to lure the spider into banging a few times to knock that bear trap in the tree down. And we're just gonna keep baiting him out. Oh, I knew it was just barely gonna miss. Oh. That didn't. And we're just gonna do that twice more. Oh. Ah, that's not good. Don't do that to me. Yeah, I think that's also gonna miss. Always just about a centimeter or so off. First time I do this. Ah. That spider always creeps me out. This is a rather oppressive, atmospheric game, and quite creepy, but never quite horrifying in the classical sense. The spider is another recurring element in Limbo, or at least for this early part of the game, that I'm not quite sure how to place. I'm a lot more comfortable with later elements in the game and ending theories than with some of the earlier stuff. And I almost always fail this jump on the first try for some reason. Didn't there, though. It's kind of like the jump in the Matrix. And hop back. Gotta die. Actually, in reflecting on it, one of the things that I think that the spider might represent, aside from impending doom due to its size and aggression, is... hold on. Hold that thought. Just want to make sure I don't die again. Alright. One thing I think it might represent is a primal fear of death and the afterlife and unknowing. And, ooh, I'm gonna fail that part. Yeah, I think I'm already down to 2 lives. And as I was saying, the spider's representative of fear itself, because arachnophobia and spiders in general just having a tendency to creep people out are an icon strongly associated with fear. So to have a giant spider in the game constantly giving you chase and acting as such an imposing threat this early on, it might just represent the fear we all hold towards the afterlife and our inevitable demise. That's something that I find that Limbo is especially strong at doing, is forcing you to cognize mortality in a way that's really poignant and not gratuitous. Just need to swing properly. I'm really excited to get into some of the later early game, the mid game, and of course the end game, when we can start really getting into the meat of the ending and the repercussions of it. One theory about the game is that the kid was involved in some sort of tragic car accident. And we'll start to see more and more evidence contributing to that theory as the game progresses, and there are elements of that theory that I do love and that are very relevant right now that I'll address before I go after this mechanical spider. And that with all of the shifts in scenery that this game takes on over the course of the game, it lends credence to the idea that the main character is on the verge of death, and in this state of limbo, things familiar to him in life are flashing before his eyes. There's no singular goal or objective stated in the game, merely the option to progress forward. And as we progress here, we're going to see more reasons why that actually makes sense, because we're going to come across scenery that would at least slightly reflect what you might expect to see over the course of a short lifespan. And I don't quite remember what to do with this tire. No. That was really much closer than it should have been. And the others here I find really interesting because they seem to just be stray souls who have lost their way, who have been unable to reach the afterlife. But I forgot about that puzzle. And yeah, in trying to rationalize and cognize this game, I'm getting caught in a lot of silly death traps that I should not be. And lost my train of thought, so that's fun. I literally lost my entire train of thought. I have no idea what I was thinking before I died there. That's gonna be a pain in the ass when I go and review this to edit it. Oh well. Oh, I was talking about the others. And it's interesting to contemplate why they might be acting as obstacles, trying to bar your path, just for being lost souls. If perhaps they're trying to drag you down and make you as miserable as they are, which I think is an apt metaphor for life. You know, the old saying that misery loves company. And jump. Yay. I mean, it's entirely possible that they're just others, but again, trying to contextualize everything within the narrative really doesn't make much sense for them to just be there. It's always more interesting to wonder why they're there, what purpose they serve in blocking your path. I mean, you could take the easy way around that question and just explain them as gameplay mechanisms to make the journey more challenging, more significant. But that doesn't quite satisfy me with this game. So, I might just be grasping at straws, trying to, to contextualize them, but I think there's something more to it. Since the subject of the game is this person who is apparently a child, an interesting way to think about them, especially within the train of thought that he is having his life flash before his eyes, is that perhaps they bullied him in life. And here, have to pull the arm off the spider. And the more I think about it, the more the theory that this is a car crash grows on me, if you take into account that this state of limbo he's in is him going through the motions of having his light flash before his eyes. I'm quite like that theory. And I'm not sure if the crow is typically considered a carrion bird. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be used like a vulture would here, but aside from that, I'm not sure what would be the purpose of the raven. Oh, I'm gonna die. No, I'm not. That wasn't a high enough fall. Let's try not to screw that up again. And is it this cage I need to jump on? No, it's this one. that is going to be our first encounter with the brain slugs. They're little glowworms that nestle into a victim's head and take control of their motor functions. And I actually don't remember what the solution to this puzzle is, so... Oh, okay, I remember. Another thing that becomes difficult to contextualize within the narrative is all of the pitfalls and the death traps. What, again, always thinking about the narrative, what function do they serve? And I might just be getting too single-mindedly caught up in my own theory about the events of the game being flashes before the kid's eyes. And they might serve an entirely different function than what I'm thinking. And the first one, you jump on the button, so the second one, you jump over the button. Alrighty. I'm surprised, because that puzzle, like a lot of the more simple ones in the game, usually require me to fail the first time, even though I've seen it before. What am I doing? Ah, this puzzle. This is by far my least favorite puzzle in the entire game. We jump off and get to the minecart to keep the rope held before it becomes unreachable to us. Now we are going to go ahead and swing just a little bit because it'll close that distance. And now. And I'm glad to have that puzzle out of the way. That one usually is a little bit annoying. Here we have the glowworm. And I'm not controlling my character in this case. The glowworm is doing it for me. The only thing I can really do is jump or speed up. So the idea of the glowworm puzzles is usually that you want to reach some sort of impassable object to get you to turn around automatically and then solve the puzzle from there. So in this case, I jumped over the crate and then reached that little hill there, which forced the character to turn around, so that I can then push the crate back and jump on it so that those maggot-eating creatures could then snap the glowworm off my head. And that's going to be the basis for the glowworm puzzles most of the time. They're going to get more complex than that, but that's a good introductory puzzle to them. And I actually forget how this works. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're going to hear me saying that a lot. I'll try to be mindful not to keep reminding you guys how much I've forgotten since the last time I've done a full playthrough of this game. And I remember the general idea of this puzzle. I don't quite remember how to accomplish it. Scratch that, I do. I'm gonna chase this little critter into the gear. He's gonna keep the gear spinning. And since we don't have water flowing yet, that is useless for the time being. Nope. Then why did I come down here? I've kind of forgotten how to get the water flowing. So that's no good. I'm sure it's something simple that I just overlooked earlier. Ah, yeah, I didn't hold the lever long enough. Another interesting thing to note is that the further you go into the game, the more the art style becomes more industrialized. The more you see machinery and gears, and eventually we'll see a hotel. Shit, I could have sworn I could make a jump behind there, but I'm thinking of a different area. There's going to be a similar area later, a similarly lit right bottom corner of the game, where an egg will be hidden. And until then, how the hell do I make this jump? Or am I just really sucking? Nope. I'm just really sucking. And I'm curious as to whether or not this sequence and sequences like it that will be coming up that have to do with water levels rising might poke holes in the current version of the car crash theme. Perhaps if the car crash theme, or the car crash theory of the ending is still to be accurate. I think it's worth entertaining the idea that maybe the car crashed into a lake or something. Oh, shit. Did I fuck this puzzle up? I think I can still salvage it. Yeah. I don't think so. Nope. I drowned. And yeah, I think it's pretty clear by now that I'm not going to be getting the achievement for dying fewer than 5 times in a playthrough. Maybe for another day. Oh no, that wouldn't have been salvageable anyway, because I would have had to have pushed the ball over here. So, I'm just gonna hasten my death real quick. It's kind of interesting that the failure state for a game that is essentially about being on the very precipice of death is itself death. And I'm gonna catch the ball before I get fucked here. Roll that down the hill. And everything should work out just fine this time. Then again, come to think of it, the car didn't necessarily have to attempt to crash into the lake, because I'm forgetting my own theory that, again, these are flashes before the kid's eyes. And so they could just be representative of the kid swimming in a lake, or a pool for that matter. But it looks like we are running short on time, and I'm going to get out of here for now. Thanks for watching, folks. Hope to see you in the next episode. Take it easy.